A very warm welcome to News9 Mediaverse, and you are watching On Point with me. A major development has taken place in a war-torn, strife-torn, a state which is divided. But a good thing, a sort of a step has happened. Court pursued, but nonetheless. 64 bodies have been returned by the Manipur government to the families of the aggrieved after several months. There were pressure on the families by certain civil society organizations not to take them back. But after the intervention of the Supreme Court of India, the sense prevailed. Now, this move is part and parcel of a larger order, but then it also told us that if the court wouldn't have intervened, then these certain civil society organizations would have continued to pressurize people not to take back the bodies. But this has happened, and this will ensure that the burial will take place at designated areas. Legal action had to be sought to resolve the problem in Manipur. Politically, this was not able to resolve itself. But then, as an important development, we are choosing to reflect it. And also in context of the fact that despite Manipur has become pretty peaceful, no major incidents have taken place, there is a normalcy in place. I wouldn't say that things have gone back to normal, but there is a normalcy in place. The violence is not there. But the politics between Mizoram and Manipur continues to take place. And the funny part is that ZPM, despite winning election, continues to talk about Manipur. Well, and the man who was talking about the Manipur issue, Zorangthanga, lost his election, and he had to also put in his papers in the party. But before that, and before I play out the bite, because Biren Singh ultimately said that Manipur is about multiple ethnicities. You can't say that one ethnicity, which is completely wrong and which was perfectly right. Let me play out certain important points, give you a timeline of the issue of bodies and why it is so important. So, if you look at the entire situation, 94 bodies were in Manipur mortuaries for a month, and they were not being allowed to be taken back because civil society organizations were trying to create pressure on individuals so that the government is pressurized to take certain action, which could not happen. Now, a report was submitted in Supreme Court in October 2023. The Supreme Court gave order to return bodies to the kin so that they can go to the designated areas. Bodies were kept there, but people were not coming. SC also ordered the collection of the DNA. SC directed Manipur government to make arrangement for the burial at designated site. The whole issue was that certain organizations from the tribals wanted a site which was not permissible. So, the Supreme Court of India took the side of the state government, said you go for the designated site. And now Manipur government has released 64 bodies from mortuaries. So, it is a very important development. The courts also upheld the position of the Manipur government. 30 bodies still remain in mortuaries. If within a time frame, if these bodies are not taken, then they will be disposed of as per the religious rites and also by the will of the government at their own time. Now, the second development which has taken place, it is 48 hours before, but then you had 13th of December. But then I chose to add it to my show. The Chief Minister of Mizoram, newly elected, started talking about the internal politics which is there in Manipur. Every state has an internal politics. But then there was a stern warning asking the neighboring CM to stay away from the internal matters of the state. This has a context, and I think this should come to an end, that any state can have a complex ethnic character, but the bordering state which has a majority of it does not become its guardian. The state is the guardian of the minorities and majority. And I think that point was very well put across by Biren Singh. I know there are concerns, there is a sentiment in Mizoram, but nonetheless, that point came out very strongly, and this was in context to the Moray. And this point was specifically made by Biren Singh. And Biren Singh said that many communities live here, so there is no point there is point in interfering in the issues of the state, because Manipur is a very unique state. You also have Nagas, you have Kukis. It's like if you have a Naga issue tomorrow, Nagaland will start interfering. So it is in this context, it becomes become politically, narrative wise, even more fragile. Any issue can be taken up. Like Biren Singh said that he has never commented on the brew issue in Mizoram. So that's the second part of the story. Former Mizoram CM, as I had mentioned, Zoramthanga had said Manipur strife aggrieved Mizo. So he wanted to politically capitalize it, just didn't work, Brijesh. He lost his election. So before I play out the bite of Biren Singh, Brijesh, tell me, do you think that this step of bodies being taken back, because state was ready to give them, but they were not ready to take them back, is a step in correct direction? Because these bodies had become some sort of a center point of conversation.
Well, I think it was a very good step taken by the very good order which was given by the Supreme Court, that they would not allow these bodies to be used as a fodder for further conflict, because these bodies were being used by, right or wrong, by tribal bodies to further the conflict, and this is the reason why, in context of that, this handing over the bodies to the families, it gives closure to the families, as well as it relieves one tension less as far as the state government is concerned. So returning of bodies and preserving taking their DNAs and preserving it to make sure, because that was also one of the demand of the state, is to make sure that that there is, whether there is any foreign body which is there lying there among 94 bodies, and if there is a foreign body, then you would want to find out how exactly that entered. And more importantly, it would also point to the fact that that there are foreigners who were involved in conflict which is going on in the state of Manipur. So I think, that's a very good step, and that's a very good follow up on the orders of the Supreme Court, if I may say so.
I am also joined by former advisor to Manipur Chief Minister Biren Singh, Rajat Sethi. I am joined by Dr. Haukep. A very warm welcome to you, and Mr. Nand Kumar ji. But Rajat, to you first, a very important development today. At least one deadlock has been broken.
Well, I think, for a fairly long period of time, this has become a precedence that the cookie civil societies tend to exert unreasonable pressure on the families of the bereaved to do politics on the mortal remains of the people who have lost their lives. This has been an unfortunate trend. In 2017, when I was the advisor, I was part of the delegation which ensured that the 600 days, a few bodies were kept in the Churachandpur mortuary. They get respectful burial, and those pending issues which were political in nature get a political platform to be addressed. Mortal remains cannot be a negotiating ground. This was again used in the current crisis. First, it was used to deliberately select a government land to further fan more tensions, and though that land was a government land was selected as a burial ground. This was purely done to extend the politics of one specific community, which was very unfortunate. Finally, I'm happy that the Supreme Court clamped down on this level of base politics, dirty politics, which were being played by one community at large. And they have none other than the Supreme Court has stepped in to provide reason to provide a reasonable end to this stalemate situation. And thank goodness for that finally the bodies will be handed over to the families in a respectful manner, and a final goodbye could be given to them with the utmost respects. The Supreme Court shouldn't just stop here. They have identified these specific NGOs and civil societies who are responsible for playing politics of this test level. I believe law and order, the legal machinery should also pursue this, that in the future, nobody should breach this basic human decency of doing politics. Nobody should allow to do politics on the mortal remains. Once and for all, this should be settled, and this malpractice, which has been going on for several years now, should finally come to a permanent stop.
Okay, but the second part of the issue I'll come to a little later, because that's also very important. Somehow Mizoram has continues to jump into the fray, and elections have showed that the gentleman who was trying to raise this issue lost the election in Mizoram, which is Zoram Thanga, and ZPM had won. Dr. Hauke, am I audible to you?
Whether it is Zoram Thanga or whether it is the new chief minister, I think they are the same, whether in terms of, the policy towards Manipur or towards the Jo people in Manipur. I think they will still remain the same. And I would try to refute Rajat's claim that the Kuki people are playing politics over the dead bodies. I think this is, a serious claim, but I would assure you that there is no politics being played on the dead bodies, over the dead bodies, because these bodies, to my point, deserve justice, which has not been given till now, right? They have not. There is no investigation so far on many of these dead bodies, who killed them, how it happened, and delivery of justice to these dead bodies is yet to be seen so far. So without this justice, how can you say that these bodies would rest peacefully? The families would settle on the dead bodies of these people. So giving justice is needed to these dead bodies. And regarding the kind of politics that we are talking about, way back in August first week, the ITLF was suggesting certain sites to be the proposed burial for these dead bodies, and there was so much uproar. If peace is the utmost importance or the goal of the state government to ensure in August or September, these sites could have been granted to these people, because as we have seen in imphal, there are many burial sites, or there are memorial sites. For instance, the 2001 dead bodies who are called martyrs in Imphal Valley, they are given spaces to be buried, to have a burial site on certain locations. Likewise, why do you keep on insisting that certain sites are impossible? This is how you play politics on minorities. And I think the next week, if you see in the Supreme Court, the Solicitor General Tushar Mehta also claims that these bodies in the morgues are there of infiltrators. How is that acceptable to the Kuki-Jo people? You are yet to identify the dead bodies properly, and you are already claiming that these dead bodies are infiltrators. So this kind of unwanted claims, even by the Solicitor General, causes the conflict more, rather than solving it. And by October 6th, the bodies were identified to a certain extent, and 6 of the dead bodies are yet to be identified. There are several procedures in law that has to be followed to dispose of certain bodies. The police has the duty to identify those bodies by conducting certain medical examinations or different kinds of identification methods. So the police should have done their work and identified them, or collected the DNA samples.
Dr. Haukim, it's time for a short break. I'll come back. Rajat has raised his hand. Misao is also there with me. I have to introduce him to our viewers. Nand Kumar is also waiting very patiently. But it's time for a very small break, and I'll be back.
जानना है तो देखिए, समझना है तो सुनिए, सीखना है तो पूछिए, और कमाना है तो खरीदिए। जानकारी, सलाह और निवेश सब एक ही सुपर ऐप पर। पैसे का सवाल है तो जवाब है Money9। आजादी पैसे की, अभी डाउनलोड करें।
So that is one part of the debate. The which Rajat had raised. There was another part of the debate which Mr. Hauke praised. Let me play out the bite of Manipur Chief Minister Biren Singh, and then I'll go to Mr. Nandakumar and then subsequently to Ms. Howe. Let's play out the bite.
As per the constitution, we are having our own state. And whatever happening in the state of Manipur is an internal matter of the Manipur government and the Manipur state. Most of the neighbor colleagues call me and ask the situation of the state, and they are also express their willingness to have in bringing solution to peace in the state of Manipur, what we can do, that kind of things. But unfortunately, the newly elected, appointed Chief Minister of Mizoram, I have seen one comment from him that the state police should not harass his people at More. I think it is little bit beyond the constitution, because what I am saying it, why I am saying it, it is an internal matter of the Manipur state government. He exactly did not know what is actually happening in More. There in More, many communities are living. Meiteis are living there. Tamil are living there. Meitei Pangals are living there. Kukis are living there. Hadaus are living there. Many. So they cannot take it as a community's areas. So my earnest appeal to him, please do help us in restoring peace in the state of Manipur, irrespective of caste and community. I never say anything when the brew controversy was there in the Mizoram, nothing, because we pray only to restore peace in the Mizoram. Like this, I want to request to everyone, please pray and help in restoring normalcy in the state of Manipur. That's the thing.
Mr. Nandakumar, the reason why I played out this bite, there is a way that constitutional functionaries should function. Rather than stoke sentiment in neighboring state, I think the whole position should have been otherwise, to heal the wounds, not to stoke them. This is the reason why I have put the story of the mortuaries with the bite that was given by the Chief Minister on 12th together. Your comments?
Yes, absolutely right. The CM of Manipur, he has said very correctly that it's a law and order is internal matter of the state, and if at all the CM of newly elected CM of Mizoram wish to help the Manipur, he can have a one-on-one meeting by visiting to Imphal or in some other places as they have decided, and he can give his suggestions. However, publicly saying such type of comments is not recommended or is not good for the people who are staying in the crisis zone areas. And moreover, More, as we all know, it is a Kuki dominated area and the Meitei have suffered mostly. And also, as CM said, it is a multi-community area where Tamils are there, Bengalis are there, Marwaris are there, even Punjabis, Kukis, Nagas, Meiteis and Pangals. So it is incorrect to say or to comment by the newly elected CM of Mizoram. And I also thank Mr. Rajat for well explaining about the politics led over the mortals of the many people. So this is what I have to say, Kartikeya.
Okay. Rajat, you had raised your hand. You wanted to come in? Can you please unmute yourself, Rajat? Can you please unmute yourself?
Yeah. I just wanted to point out certain factual inaccuracies which were presented by respected colleague Dr. Hauke. I think, when lands for burial grounds are allocated in an amicable manner, it can obviously be government land or private land or whatever is earmarked. But if you want to play politics when it comes to selecting land in Torbung area, which was the flashpoint, the very initial flashpoint, then this seems more deliberate an act. And this is why we saw so much confrontation that the central forces had to rein in, and they ensured that that land is not touched. Had there been an iota of merit in that argument that that land in Torbung, which was a sericulture department land, which was chosen deliberately for the burial, Had there been any merit, central forces would have ensured that a safe and a respectful burial is given. But they understood the politics behind it. So let us not try and befool ourselves and work towards more accretive solution where both parties get into a win-win scenario. I think this is why a neutral arbiter like that of the Supreme Court and their intervention on matters is going to be extremely important. And even in the days going forward, any kind of a vexed issue, the monitoring body of the Supreme Court and the central agencies should continue to play that arbiter role and keep finding middle ground and common grounds. Otherwise, every small issue will become a flashpoint and no conclusion is going to come. Now that those peak of our sentiments have all been, have reached to a level of calm, we should ensure that this relative calm, both in the valley and in the hills, sees more period of stability, calmness. We come out of our respective positions and ensure that a future course of action is created. I think in this line we have seen how Mizoram has had consistent problems when it came to initially having a huge bad relations with the Assam government. They shot down and killed Assam police officers. Same way we are seeing their interventions in Manipur matters. My advice to Laldu Homaji, respectful Honorable Chief Minister of Mizoram, is that please get the house in order of Mizoram. The previous Chief Minister was ousted not because of Zo relations or Kuki-Zo issues. He was ousted because of the local governance mishandling that he kept doing. There was massive corruption. There was public service recruitment scam. The youth were unemployed. There were massive problems. He has his plate full already. So Laldu Homaji should actually focus on those affairs and provide a helping hand to the Manipur government. And I think this is where the Honorable Chief Minister Biren Singh was very matured in his outlook. He said there have been a lot of problems which ail the Northeast, but no other state starts pinpricking each one of them as if we are mutual enemies. We are not. We're looking at coming up and proposing solutions which are net gainful for all communities. There are 400 plus communities. And this is where I think Laldu Homaji's task is cut out. He needs to ensure that an helping hand from Mizoram comes in, and he can offer help to the Manipur government in resolving this crisis.
Okay,
instead of
I'll come to you because this is one thing which I wanted to talk about. That what are the other pending issues which need to be taken up? Misa, after a long time, a very warm welcome on my show. Your opening comments. Sorry, I couldn't get you. We were not able to reach you. Your opening comments.
Yeah, it's a very new development, especially when the mortal remains of those Kuki bodies would be given respectful burial as per the directive of the Supreme Court. I would also counter to Rajat saying that the Kukis are playing politics over those dead bodies. I think that's very unfortunate and something which is uncalled from such person who was advisor to the chief minister and who fails to understand the sentiments of the victim's family and who also fails to read the current scenario, taking into account the feelings of those people who have undergone such difficult situation. Now, it's also very understandable that people who are also appointed by the same gurus from the central government who are from the same background, parties, would always talk in line with the state government, who is also like the BJP figure. And that's something which I'm really shocked to hear, because someone who is advisor to the CM never understand the feeling of those who are actually the victims of all this, what we call it, state-sponsor violence and terrorism. And I think that will further hurt the feelings of those victim community.
You should be more concerned about what the Supreme Court has said. Supreme Court made these observations. I'm barely repeating these observations. These are not my independent findings. These are Supreme Court monitored committee's independent findings, sir. Please, sir, do not attribute
anyway, what
it
I'm
to
saying
me.
is like, when you are saying everything, why don't you talk about the politics over all those 5,000 guns being handed over?
Let us talk about Supreme Court's observation around the mortal remains. That's the subject of the debate. Please look at the
No,
subject
that's
of
the
the
subject. Yes, I do understand. I do understand.
So what do
When
you
you are
say about
saying
the Supreme
that the
Court's findings,
particular
sir?
communities are playing politics over
Respectfully,
there,
what do you say about Supreme Court's findings?
the Supreme Court finding, as per that, we are obliging, because when the bureau site in Tolbung area was a controversial, that's how we obliged to the court directive as well as to the Ministry of Home Affairs
So their
directive,
findings were that you were doing
for
politics.
which we
So
stopped
the
those bureau
findings were
sites.
that the
And
politics
now
was being done on mortal
with
remain.
all this new
Respectfully, sir.
development, we also oblige saying
Quite
that now it
respectfully,
is
sir,
high time that all these
Supreme
people
Court
who are
said,
already
sir,
who are killed mercilessly,
Kartik ji,
who
this
are
needs
killed
to be
mercilessly should be given a
Kartikeya ji, this needs
due
to be
Okay.
respectful burial to that place. That's what
Okay.
I'm
Kartikeya
saying.
ji, this needs to be corrected because the Supreme Court not just passed an order, there were observations.
Correct,
that certain
absolutely.
those
You know,
are doing
Misao,
politics
you know,
on it.
I
These
was
are not my words.
Yes,
These are
absolutely.
Honorable
Absolutely,
Supreme Court's
absolutely.
words.
Mr. Misao, you know, that there were two things. One was the order of the court and one was the observation of the committee. There are two things, Mr. Misao. The observation of the committee by a retired High Court judge. She was the one who mentioned this. She was the one who mentioned in her report that certain civil society organizations are not letting the burial take place. So, I think there is a difference, but it's time for a short break. I will come back to you and we will discuss more of this about this issue, and secondly, what are the pending issues which really need to be taken up now, because it's really time that certain things should be sorted out.
Yes, the scale of the attack surprised us.
When you get a series of alerts, 16 intelligence alerts, if Maharashtra government at that time had alerted the Coast Guard and the Navy, this 2611 would not have happened at all.
And one of the details they had planned was to use these dhagas to mislead the investigative agencies.
All this was to be presented as a Hindu terror.
So it was a Pakistan operation. The LET was the front end.
As the attacks were on, it was clear that they were planned and launched from Pakistani territory.
For all of those victims of terror that was exported from Pakistan over the years, including but not limited to 2611.
This and more, streaming on world's first news OTT, News9 Plus. Download now.
Bangalore traffic is an example of something that has gone wrong with our system.
We have more than 50 flyovers in Bangalore city. If flyover is a solution to traffic problem, Bangalore should not have traffic problem.
According to TomTom Traffic Index 2022, Bangalore is ranked as the second worst city in the world when it comes to traffic.
The speed limit at the ORR is 80 kilometers per hour, but our vehicle has only moved 10 kilometers per hour.
What Bangalore needs is a surgery, but what we have been offered repeatedly are band-aids.
Only on the world's first news OTT. News9 Plus. Ahead of the curve.
The scale of the attack was something that we were surprised at. David Hadley was a double agent. The Americans did not want him to be fully exposed, so all that he probably shared with the Americans was not shared with us in terms of intelligence. If we had that, I'm sure that we would have been able to deal with the situation far better.
This and more, streaming on world's first news OTT, News9 Plus. Download now.
Welcome back. You know, Brijesh, if this wouldn't have been the issue, do you think that these bodies would have been lying there like this?
Well, absolutely. I don't think that the community would have taken back the body because, you know, this was one of the calling cards. I completely understand that, you know, both sides are playing politics and it's not like, you know, one side is completely a saint and the other side is Satan. But yes, you cannot deny the fact that, you know, that though the families might have wanted the bodies back because, you know, nobody, I mean, would want their loved ones to be lying unattended in the mortuary. And the report which was presented by the judge, by the Supreme Court, you know, appointed committee, and also the observations made it amply clear what the Supreme Court of India thinks about the ongoing conflict situation with regard to these bodies which were lying there in the mortuary. Though I agree with Dr. Haukip about the comment which was made by Solicitor General, it was not in good taste saying that, you know, all of them were foreign militants and all, because he had no, you know, no facts or data to back that particular statement. That was completely avoidable. But barring that, I think I, by and large, you know, agree with what the Supreme Court had to say. And this is the reason why the community, you know, if they felt that, you know, they were completely wrong and what the Supreme Court observation was completely was wrong, you know, they might not have agreed to it, because it's not like, you know, that the orders, but, you know, that difficult terrain, it's very hard to for them to implement.
But there was a different report by retired High Court Justice, and she in a report clearly mentioned, Rajat, you wanted to come in? She in a report clearly mentioned that this stalemate is a result of pressure politics by civil society
members. That
happens,
Kartikeya. But she was right, and this is the reason why, you know, I mean, they agreed to take back the bodies and you know, go for the burial, because they also understand that what was being written in the statement was right.
Dr. Haukip, then Rajat, I'll come to you. Dr. Haukip?
Yes. You know, the ITLF proposal of that burial site may have some, you know, problems, but I was comparing with the June 18 uprising memorial site in imphal, because that is a public place which is located near the highway, and it is in full public view near the main road at the center of the city. So if that public places can be used for remembrance of those June 18 uprising, you know, martyrs who are killed, then why not, you know, give it to those people? If you want to restore peace quickly in Manipur, the Manipur government could have given the sericultural site a small plot of land to the burial site. What is wrong in that? So we are always, you know, trying to do everything in terms of politics. Do you want to remember all those people who were, you know, victims of a kind of ethnic cleansing in the state? The minorities have been suffering, so they wanted to remember, and they want a proper place for those kind of, you know, horrific times of their lives. So if the government wants peace and tranquility to return very soon, then just like the June 18 uprising memorial site, it could have been given, and peace could have been restored very easily if these bodies were, you know, laid to rest very early in August. So that's my point only. I'm just comparing that, and I'm not saying that the burial site of the proposed, you know, ITLF site is, you know, without any kind of problem. I'm just saying that it had happened about 20 years ago in imphal, and you know, if the government is willing to settle those issues, the remembrance sites could have been, you know, granted with the government land or whatever land it is.
Okay, Nandakumar, you know, I just couldn't come to you, but do you think that this has become a persistent problem also of the state, that the neighboring chief ministers are unduly interfering? You know, you have statement coming from the Naga leaders also, you have statement coming in from the Mizoram chief minister also.
Yes, before replying to this, I would like to clarify one thing. June 19 uprising event is unlike the Kuki and Meitei classes at present situation. There was no fight or classes between the Naga and Meiteis during those periods, and those bodies, those who have been sacrificed their lives, were killed by the security forces. Gun. So you cannot compare the June 19 and the present crisis. So this is what I'd like to say to the people. So there was no conflict between, and also as CM Biren has very maturely said, we should not interfere between the running of the states. Otherwise, we will not have a peaceful and let's say coexistence in India as a country. So we should respect each other's territory and respect each other's administration. And India is a country, and we live together, and all the communities can stay in all parts of the states, or in every states of the India. So we should not think that in support of one particular community, the administration or the head of the state starts commenting like the way the CM of the Mizoram had done it. It will be a problem. So its maturity should be shown, and we should coexist as a whole country and to work progress towards the development of the nation. Then all such small politics and cheap popularities should be avoided, and we must focus into our own state rather than commenting on the neighboring states.
Okay. Do you think that there is a to-do list which should be implemented in Manipur now, Rajat?
Well, I think most certainly the Supreme Court is apprised of the matter. They have their own independent investigation. We have various central organizations, central investigative organizations already working in tandem with the law and order establishment and the central command of the state. So I believe that net the task is cut out. This period of normalcy should be carried forward, and there should be more number of days, incident-free days, which will add to confidence of both the communities. And then perhaps the Home Ministry will be trying to create one kind of a common convergence point document between both the communities, and then that gets in all practicality, I see it's going to happen in a scenario post national elections, because in the current heat we'll get into the din of politics pretty soon. This is my independent view.
Is it possible to hold elections there, Rajat? I just really want, I'll come to you, Dr. Hauke. Is it really, can Manipur undergo elections? I just want to know. In couple of months,
that's a great point. I think, Kartikeya ji, you're absolutely right. Holding an election in such a vexed scenario in Manipur is going to be a humongous challenge for our election commission and the security forces. I think there have been precedences in the past as well, where certain camps will have to be set up outside the state where displaced people are. They have to be identified. That identification process should happen. Certain camps where displaced people are still living inside the camp, they have to be then identified and separated depending on which constituency they belong to. A lot of them would have lost their voter ID cards. So voter ID cards would not be there with them. They would have lost it. So fresh voter ID cards will have to be issued. I think 3-4 months is a tight period, and election commission will have
Rajat, deployment of the security forces, because security in itself has become a very divisive issue. But it's not going to be an easy task.
It's going to be a very, very tough time for the election commission. And I think for India's sovereignty to writ large, it's important that you actually do that election. You can't be saying that, because of law and order, we can't hold an election. That would be in bad light. So I think election commission should work round the clock and ensure whatever needs to be done is done. Voter turnout, they can't control, but they have to control that they reach all the voters, every single one of them.
Dr. Hauke, you wanted to comment?
Yes, I want to reply to Nanda Kumar regarding the 2001 Manipur violence. That the 2000 violence was as intense as the present violence in Manipur. It was just that the then administration headed by Congress Chief Minister Singh, who handled the administration carefully, that this did not spiral into a kind of intense ethnic clashes. The police were very impartial in terms of handling the situation, as the Congress government did that time. Of course, on both sides, the police has handled them in terms of the death. There were several deaths among the Naga side also. In Mao, you can find there are memorial sites where 2 youths have been shot dead by the Manipur police. So the police was handling carefully on both sides, not the two ethnic groups that were, in terms of conflict at that time. So in that way, this Manipur violence this year could have also been handled by the police and the home minister or the chief minister himself had, the police been impartially used. And initially, this conflict was controlled in Kangwai, Turbung, Imphal, and More. That could happen, and it could have been controlled. But I should sadly say that the chief minister took more than 24 hours to appear in public and appeal for peace. It was the next day, evening, that he only came up. The police could have been deployed, the commandos, the army could have been deployed immediately to control the situation. There will be some loss of life initially, so that any arson, any other, kind of, actions could have been prevented with that. So that did not happen, and I'm sadly saying that after 7 months, we could go back and see, and the police, could have done better job had the chief minister instructed them properly and given the full authority to control the situation in Kangwai.
Okay.
That's
okay.
what I can say.
Okay, Rajat, come in and then to you, Mr. Misao.
Well, very brief comment. I think Dr. Haukip is singing paeans about Ibobi Singh, and he conveniently forgets that it was 11 cookie bodies which were lying in mortuary for more than 600 days because of the MLR Act mishandling of Ibobi Singh in 2015-2016. So I am surprised that what law and order are we bringing to light. Again, unnecessary amount of diversion of the topic is there. 2001, what happened in June 17th crisis, all of that. See, there is a due process. All that I'm saying is, in the current crisis, any site can be given for burial, any site. But there has to be a due process. You can't force the administration to suddenly pick a site which is right there in the eye of the storm, and you deliberately do politics. It's all about due process. I don't know why Dr. Haukip is willfully ignoring this fact. If you've selected a site, did you submit a memorandum? Not forget about the state government. Do it before the central government. Did you do that? No. It was all done retrospectively. First, you mobilized your community. You ensured that a delicate situation is created. A site which is going to be controversial is deliberately chosen. And then once the home minister had to step in through his officials, then you had to back down. Why was the need for this? Can't you allow the families to have a more respectful last rites done to their loved ones? I genuinely, can we ever have an honest discussion? Is my point, Kartikeya. Every time there is always a deflectionary thing which is brought in, and no amount of coming together, coming on a common ground is ever created. Dr. Haukip would have said that yes, whatever has happened has happened. Now that 64 bodies have gotten a respectful burial, fine. Now the quest for justice should carry on. It's not like in the rest of the countries that the dead bodies have to be held up just for justice. There is a justice system, and it is not just being monitored by the state government anymore. There are all the bodies who have had a credibility and have been given this task. Either you don't believe in them, or you have to believe in them and give them time to deliver justice. It doesn't happen like that everything should follow the whims and fancies of every time wherever there is a controversy you want to bring in those. It shouldn't happen. I think we should all take a step back and allow the families to grieve in the final moments when they are bidding goodbye. Let us all communities, and even outside people who are analysts and all of us should give them space to grieve.
No, I completely agree with you. Misao, to you, and then to Dr. Haukip, because you had raised your finger. Misao.
Yeah, what I'm looking at is like the limping back of normalcy in the strike-torn states of Manipur. We are already in almost 8 months now. And now when all these dead bodies are going to be given a respectful burial, I think that's something which we have to also look at, rather than also like pointing fingers on why these things happen and who did it. And those kind of blame games, I think, will never, bring any kind of good to the people, both the warring communities. Now, I don't know why we are also so much defending the present government rather than also trying to bring this kind of better understanding and the environment of harmony and peace between the two communities rather than defending what the government is doing and what the government is not doing. Now, it's well understood that how it happens, why it happens, who are responsible. This is something which nobody can hide. Even lots of independent investigation, which were taken up before, have already revealed who is responsible and why these things are happening. So rather than defending what the government, what the party, we should also dig into how from these days, how we can go forward in bringing back normalcy into the state. And also coming back to what Nanda Kumar was saying, like when the president, this chief minister of Mizoram, the newly elected chief minister of Mizoram, clearly and strongly said, blood is always thicker than water. Now, just imagine, just try to be in the shoe of those people, when one of your family members is being tortured, killed without any mercy, how would you remain silent? I mean, you might say, one has to not interfere in our internal matters, but when your teens, your near and dear ones, your family members is given such stepmotherly treatment, and how would you expect that the chief minister should remain silent? And it's like, like telling our honorable prime minister not to speak anything about what is happening in the neighbor country. So same way, he has the very right to talk about what is happening here, because we are sharing this, we are having the same blood, we are having the same bonding, and that's the reason why he speaks on that. And if the state government takes necessary steps, and if the state government does his homework very well, I don't think chief minister will come and interfere in the state. So what I'm looking forward now is, like, rather than pointing fingers on a community saying that it's because of that, it's because of these, why don't we talk about something which we can look forward, where normalcy comes back, where people live together again and lead a normal life? That's something which I'm looking for. And I do expect such things would come from such responsible people who were also, like, in such position who can also have leverage and influence to those in authority.
Okay. I think that's a fair point. I'll come to you, Rajat. I'll come to you. Dr. Aukip.
How can it be fair, Kartikeya ji? It was borderline racist.
No,
if you're saying the blood is thicker.
No, I didn't say. I said.
Oh,
that
cannot be normalized, Kartikeya ji. This is as bad as it gets. It was borderline racist that, okay, my race is there on the other side and we are brethren connected by blood. And therefore, the responsibility of the other CM is that your family members are getting, embroiled in a conflict. So I should only speak for that. That is borderline.
Rajat, I will clearly tell you.
But this is wrong. So please,
I do respect Honorable Chief Minister of Manipur, but even the Meitei community has lost faith on him.
Sir, that is another matter, sir. But your
even the
statement
Meitei
is problematic,
lost faith on him because he cannot contain. He cannot contain what is happening now in such situation.
That is borderline. You are saying that clanship should be followed beyond the well-established constitutional borders between states. Is that what you're trying to articulate? Because that gets on the line of racism, sir. You're saying that the Chin, Kuki, Mizo community or race or whatever you want to call, you want to create a distinguishment between and want to create further divisions by making that statement. That's unfortunate, sir. I think we should look at there are certain states where multiple communities live, unlike that in Mizoram. And we all know what happened to one micro minority of the Brus, the kind of treatment they got in Mizoram. Sir, please, therefore, what I'm saying, every state of our country has a lot of tasks cut out for them, and a mature leadership should look at our constitution as the guiding principle, guiding force, not blood. Not the relationships, not the clanship.
Now, I'm going to tell you, Rajat Chetty, I'm going to tell you one thing. Now in Manipur, might is right. So there's something which is happening. Might is right. Whatever they are doing is right. Because now he even said, like how Kip Riley put up the point saying that June 18 uprising those places where those bodies were laid and given respect every year is the public places. And that was done by
Was
the
there a due
Meitei
process
community,
followed in
and you
that,
said
sir? Let
that's
me
right.
pinpoint and
And now
ask you.
whatever we are doing,
Was there a due process or not,
right,
sir, in
because
that?
we are not in the power.
Let me push
We are
back
not in the
again, because
power,
this
and
comment
the
has
state
been
has
going on
every
for a
authority
really long
to
period
do
of
that.
time.
And
So what was the due process which was followed in the June, June commemoration in the burial ground, sir?
no, what is the
There
due
was no
process
burial,
when we
last
file
stage of event.
FIR? When we file FIR, is there any arrest so far? Because we
What was the
followed
due
any
process in the
due
Tarbuk
process,
area, sir?
but
That's
so
what
far
I'm
there's no
asking.
arrest. Is there
Don't
any
you
arrest on those
understand
people who are already
basic
raped,
things? Our
killed?
burial
What is
ground, CMR.
what are the state government doing? When you are saying due process, we have
pointless
done
to
due
debate with
process. But when the power is in your hand, you did nothing to bring justice to those people.
Did you submit
And
a
now you are saying due
memorandum for
process.
choosing the Torbung site? Did you
We
submit
have
it to the government?
submitted numbers of memorandum to the Prime Minister, even to the Home
Torbung site.
Minister. What are the
Lying
outcomes? Now
So
the
you're lying
state
through your teeth,
government
sir.
is controlling
We
everything.
cannot have a
The
respectful debate
system,
like
the
this, sir.
structure, everything is in the hands, and they are controlling everything. Now you are saying because of which we are
debates can happen
all
like this.
always the victim.
Rajat, see, Mr. Misau, see. I mean to say, the fact that I have been able to get all of you together is at least I have earned a little bit of respect that multiple point of views can be kept. My only request is at least one, let's not make it personal. Second, I think we should just stick to facts. If we get into this narrative war, then we are as good as trolls on Twitter, because that's what the social media has done. Mr. Haukip, to you now.
Yes, the Chief Minister of Manipur will intervene if there is any problem faced by the Vishnupuriya Manipuris in Silchar or any Manipuris in Tripura.
But Mr. Haukip, tell me, this is like an open allegation. Rajat is wait a minute, I just want to say one thing. He is not the advisor to the Manipur Chief Minister. He is a former advisor. He is a colleague who understands things well. He is part of a political process. He is not there to defend Biren Singh. I have not called him here. I have called him someone who understands Manipur. The debate has taken a position whereby he is defending Biren Singh. That it is not for that reason I called him. I had called him because someone who had served in the administration would put that perspective across. That the perspective of governance. You are a professor, someone is a social activist, so you have different point of views. He is there not to defend him, he is there to put a perspective of administration, inside view. Yes, Mr. Haukip.
Yes, the other point was regarding the 2015 violence that happened, the so-called the 3 bills that were passed by the Manipur government. It was protest against the Manipur government. It was so, the kind of situation at that time was so flare up in Chirsanpur and Kampopi and other places that several houses of the MLS and other houses were burned, and then eventually the police has to control the mob. And I'm not justifying that Congress did the good thing by killing those 9 youths. I'm saying that in order to prevent further escalation, police has to take into action so that it doesn't go beyond certain localities like Chirsanpur. So the police have taken stern action against the rioters, the protesters, and it was eventually controlled. And for the next many months, there were peaceful protests, and eventually the matter was resolved, and the bills were, of course, what should happen have happened. After a year, the president of India did not give accent to those 3 bills, and eventually it was resolved. So I'm talking about the flare-up point where the police should have done what they should be doing. Otherwise, like the present situation in Manipur, it could flare up into a larger ethnic conflict. So I'm not defending Ibobi at all, because I have no affiliation with the Congress or neither with the BJP. So I'm just a commentator saying that this kind of large-scale violence could have been prevented had on 3rd May in the evening the police had taken the situation into control. That's my point.
Okay, Rajat, before I close in the discussion, that is why I'm not, I was saying I'm not going to discuss what happened on 3rd of May or the 3rd of June or 3rd of July. I'm saying, does Manipur require sort of a 10-point program? These are the 10, 5, 4, 3 things which it needs to do, which just needs to do to get it back in action, because I was just thinking, because of the intervention of the court, this body thing has been resolved. An issue is out. It's like you have ticked a box. Does the state government needs to tick another 5-10 boxes?
Yes, 100%. I think we have seen this before, that bringing in closure to the bereaved families is so important, Kartikeya ji. At least that's a step in restoring confidence among the Kuki community. At least they are over, that aspect wherein mortuaries, bodies are lying in the mortuaries. Can you imagine? It's such a distressing thing to as a hangover when you're negotiating, even discussing political stuff, when you have so many bodies who haven't seen closure yet. So I think from that point of view, this is a huge milestone, and I think it should not be seen as a win or a loss by either communities.
Correct.
This
I agree.
should be seen as something, as the grieving families will get a closure. So justice doesn't stop here. I mean, they need to get justice. Never in my point I have mentioned that this is the closure of justice. Justice will continue till it is not brought to their satisfaction. And I think this is where I'm saying the central bodies are consistently, going to nab every single one of them who was responsible for individual acts and the act as a whole, which is spread out. The 10 points that you're talking, they're not just 10, there are many such documents which have been prepared by the Intelligence Bureau, the people who are looking into this affair in the Ministry of Home Affairs. They have presented these pointers to both the warring communities. They have said that we need to bring in convergence on each of these points. And where there is no convergence, I think a neutral arbiter like that of the Supreme Court will have to ensure. I see light at the end of the tunnel. We all have to be positive.
Absolutely.
And we all have to uphold constitutional aspects.
Rajat, I'm running short of time. I'm sorry I'm interrupting all of you. I'm really running short of time. This was supposed to end 10 minutes ago. But the only thing I would say is that's a good thing that it has happened. And the only thing which needs to happen is more such pending issues need to be resolved in Manipur. If there are pending issues, they need to go. They can't be kept on the table for politics to play out on it again. That's all on point with me, but we'll be back with more. Stay tuned.
Since the last 2 years, Khalistani terror groups are threatening Indian diplomats in Canada, US, UK and Australia. Investigations of these threats led us to the first ever abduction and